Hey there, Advanced Math. I'm going to cover two quicker topics in one day here today. We're going to talk about the quadrants of the coordinate plane, and we're going to talk about reflecting a point across the x or the y axis. So, go ahead and label your page. When you've done that, close your notebook up and just concentrate with me. Alright, so real fast connect here. You know, we used to make our when we only knew about positive numbers, kind of made our coordinate plane like that. And then when we found out about negative numbers, we had to stop doing that. And we had to make it look like this. And mathematicians, you'll notice this made it into 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. That mathematicians call quadrants. Alright. And mathematicians, go ahead here, have named the quadrants, no less, so that they can keep track of which one they're talking about. So I make my coordinate plane here. Just like in the order I labeled them in before. They called this area quadrant number 1. They use a Roman numeral. Quadrant 1, and that's where we go positive x, positive y. So the coordinates of everything in that quadrant are positive, positive. Then they go counterclockwise. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why they do that, but that's what they do. So this is quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. And that would be where I go negative, then positive. Negative x, positive y. So everything in that quadrant has a negative x coordinate and a positive y coordinate. This is quadrant 3. And that is where I go negative x and negative y. Both in quadrant 3, any point in quadrant 3, both coordinates are negative. And in quadrant 4, the first coordinate is positive. I go positive first, then negative. Positive. And that's what they name them. That way we can talk about where we are on the coordinate plane easily. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay? Let's go to our next topic. We'll bring that back at the we do and in a little bit in these. So let's talk about reflecting a point here. So I'm going to reflect the point negative 3, 5 across the x-axis. So there's like 3 things to do. So 1, reflect it. 2, write the reflections ordered pair. And 3, say what quadrant it's in. So I'm going to kind of do 3 things in one swoop here. Alright, so let's see. I'm going to start by finding the point negative 3, 5. I'm going to go negative 1, 2, 3. There's negative 3, positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the point I'm starting with, negative 3, 5. So what I'm asked to do is reflect it across the x-axis. So first thing to remember, you have an x-axis and you have a y-axis. And so what I do when I reflect it across the x-axis is I basically make it the same distance from the x-axis, which is this one, on the other side. Reflect like it's looking in a mirror. So I'm going to go count how far I go down to the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have to go down 5 units. I'm going to erase this eventually. It's 5 units down to the x-axis. So the point that reflects it across the x-axis is like I take it and I like flip it over the x-axis to the same place down there. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units below it, and the point's going to be right there. I'm going to erase this because you don't actually make this. It just helps me figure it out. Erase, erase. There we go. And so this is a new point that's reflected across the x-axis. I went down to the x-axis 5 and then passed it by 5. And again, it's like if this point was looking in a mirror here, it would see itself be that far away. That's why it's called a reflection. But I really just take it and I move it to the same position over there, across the x-axis. And so now that point's coordinates are -1, -2, -3. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So that new point has those coordinates. So now I've done the first thing. I reflected it, and I wrote its new ordered pair. And just to review the quadrants, I asked what quadrant is the reflection in. So I've got this new point. Remember, the quadrants are, trying to change colors here. The quadrants are 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is in, the new point is here in quadrant 3. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do another one just to kind of help you get the hang of this. All right. So same question, different point, different axis here. So now I'm going to reflect the point -2, -6 across the y-axis and write the reflection's ordered pair. What quadrant is the reflection in? So let's start by finding my original ordered pair. -2, 1, 2. -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is right there. That's my original point. And I'm going to reflect it across the y-axis. So remember, I have an x-axis and I have a y-axis. And so to reflect it across the y-axis, which is this one, I'm going to go 2 units to the y-axis and then 2 units to the other side, to right here. Now again, you don't have to draw those. Let me shrink my eraser here. You don't have to draw these. These are just to help me find it. There we go. But, you know, again, it's like if this point, if we're reflecting across the y-axis, like if we put a mirror on the y-axis, it would see itself that far away on the other side. That's all it is. And so that new point is +2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6. So when I reflect -2, -6, I get 2, -6. And last but not least, what quadrants is it in? That is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. So the reflection is in quadrant 4. All right, that's all there is to it. Open your notebook up. Let's do a couple quick things in your notebook on our We Do. So the first thing we need to do, just mark the quadrants of the coordinate plane so that you have them in your notebook. They are, quadrant 1 is the positive quadrant, the original quadrant, if you will. Both coordinates are positive in quadrant 1. Then we go counterclockwise. So this is quadrant 2 over here. That is negative, positive coordinates. Any point in that quadrant has negative and then positive. This is quadrant 3. Negative, negative. And this is quadrant 4, which is positive then negative. So there's every combination in my 4 quadrants. So those are what mathematicians call the quadrants in the coordinate plane. Okay? Next thing, let's practice a couple of reflections. So I'm going to reflect the point 4, -1 across the y-axis and write the reflection's ordered pair. So let's start by finding that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. And let's see, this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So I'm going to reflect it across the y-axis. So that's going to be back here. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to go over to the y-axis first. So it's 4 units. You don't have to draw this if you don't want. If this helps you, go ahead and draw it. It's 4 units to get to the y-axis. So then I want to go another 4 units past it. Like its reflection is going to look like it's the same distance away that it is. All right. And so I can now erase this. And again, if it helps you think of it, I like to think of it like there's a mirror at the y-axis, and this is looking at itself, and it looks like it's that far away from the mirror. So that new point is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. So negative 4, negative 1. You'll notice in all our examples, the coordinates are very similar, but not exact when you reflect it. So that's my new point, and it is in quadrant 2, 3. This is quadrant 3. So that is where it is. It's in quadrant 3. Okay. So that's one for your notes, reflecting across the y-axis. Pause if you need to finish writing that down. I'm going to do one more where we reflect across the x. And you're probably getting the hang of this by now. So here we go. Reflect this point across the x-axis. So let me go find it. Negative 3, negative 4. It's right there. And I'm going to reflect it across the x-axis. So I've got to go to the x-axis. So that's up. So it's 4 up to the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got to go 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be right there. And again, it should be the same distance from the x-axis as my original point. Kind of make sure that it is. Looks good to me. That is the point negative 3, positive 4. And it is in quadrant 2. 1, 2. All right. So that is how you reflect a point across an axis, and that is what the quadrants are named. Hopefully that's pretty clear to you after these examples, and I will see you tomorrow.